Hello, mai kako. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. Opening up today's program, we were fortunate to have a kupa of Maui with us here, Kumu Pueo Pata. Kumu Pueo is an Uniki graduate, of Kumuhula Nona Mahilani, Kaluhio Kalani, and Loya Hula George Naope. For the last 20 years, Kumu Pueo has been the Kumuhula of Malama Mahilani of Kahului and Makawao Maui. He's a founding member of the Leo Kahoa Steering Committee of Hua Makahikina, an international coalition of Kumuhula that advocates for the integrity, stewardship, and protection of hula. He's previously served as the Hawaiian Cultural Advisor to the Mayor of Maui County, the Master Cultural Educator at Papahana Kuaola, and previously an immersion preschool teacher at Punana Maui, and Hawaiian language and culture teacher at Kamehameha School's Maui campus. In 2022, Kumu Pueo published the book Ohu Ohu na Mauna o Eeka, Place Names of Maui Komohana, which includes over 1,600 place names of Maui Komohana and speaks to the importance of Inoa Aina, Mo'olelo as databases of indigenous knowledge. It's my great honor to welcome Kumu Pueo Pata.
I'd like to thank Ui Tanigawalam for putting those beautiful words together for me. And also she said, Kumu, can you limit it to 15 minutes? And so I'm going to put my timer on because I have a Zoom meeting at 10. Okay. Thank you for having me today. I'd like to begin with the traditional mele that calls into the importance of water in the morning time, but it's a chant of welcome. Yeah, maita ilili molele itala. Lena te oho te tutu inonola. Mauta awapuhi no luita pale. Ma boboda ikeina mea nani o pi iho. Ohida I otala au o makaua. He nani ala, he mo haluita poli o toto. I hui ia mai a paunaha I tu. Oia paha e pawa iaua e ti pata ui e ti pamai e kipa mai, aloha. It was from the mo'olelo ka'au of Makalei, the la'auona, that came to Kailua to attract all the fish to that area. When one of the me'e woke in the morning, she noted that the Ho'ailona said her akua was waiting for her outside. And so she begins this chant to tell her akua, e pā waiau, e kipa ka'ua. Let me partake in this liquid, which was ava, or water, so that you and I might be able to come together. That is one of perhaps hundreds, or not, if not thousands, of instances that have been passed down to us through mo'olelo, ka'au, mele, and in more contemporary times, even writings that speak not only of wai in its important aspect as a resource for continuation of life, but to also facilitate cultural activities, to facilitate religious activities. Something we can get caught up in the way issues. They're all appropriate when it comes to politics, when it comes to fighting for water as a natural resource. To add to that is what I'm going to talk about in the next 11 minutes, 51 seconds. I'll limit it to 8. Okay. When we think of wai, we know wai literally means water. As a cultural resource, we have the word wai, which means wealth or treasure. Our Hawaiian words are concepts. They're these large overarching concepts that when we speak Hawaiian and we're asked to translate this word, we have to pick an English word from underneath the umbrella of that concept. And so if I'm talking about wai this and wai that, if we're in the context of physical water, I'll translate the word in English as water, even though I know under the overarching concept of wai is also the concept of to store or to retain. So hale wai, it's a last name. It's also found on maps. It's the old word for prison. Hale, which is a building. Wai, to retain. Your island here has a very famous landmark with that same retentive concept in it. Pu'uo waina. Waina means the receptacle place where the bodies of those sacrificed were retained. Pu'uo waina. So wai as a resource, as a treasure, doesn't mean water. It means the ability to accrue, the ability to retain. It's been in modern times the same way that aloha has been explained by people who don't speak the language as alo and ha, or the same way that haole has been defined by people who don't speak the language as ha and ole. Wai has also in the same vein been kind of translated as water, because if you have plenty of water, it means you have plenty of resource. But wai comes from the ability to retain. And so water as a vehicle through which culture has been and continues to be propagated, are things like what I just chanted to you. E pā waiaua e kipa ka'ua. Through me partaking in this water, shall I be able to commune with you, my akua. Water not only is a physical resource needed for the biological processes of our environment and our bodies, but it's also a means to facilitate religious culture, our culture period. When we have pule, like the one I'll present toward the end of this presentation, we have the type of prayer called weiha. Weiha. And if you don't speak the language, you might say water breath. But if you are able to understand the concept of wai, it means to ensure that this body of water, this liquid, becomes infused with and retains the ha that's being breathed over it through the pule. You can look all of these words up. It's very easy in the Hawaiian dictionary. Wai, waiha. Wai also has a concept, when you just type the word wai in the Papakilo database, thousands and thousands and thousands of hits come back from our newspapers, because it also is, the concept of wai is infused throughout Hawaiian culture. Words like hala wai or kana wai. Even periods of time are referred to water movement. Ikeau ya Kamehameha, during the time when Kamehameha was ruling, but it really means when the current belonged to Kamehameha. Wai as a cultural resource, I'm adding this hopefully to you folks so that when you go to fight for water cases, you understand that from a Hawaiian point of view, from a cultural point of view, it's not limited to the physical itself, but also dependent on the concepts embedded therein. One of my teachers, I have my teachers etched into my hands here. The sixth one, Auntie Eleanor Kaupu Makita, was a type of kahuna. And she posed to us, what does this mean? He pohaku ke kanaka. Humans are stones. And so, you know, my hula siblings and I, we went really far out there to ka lai what she had said to us. We are solid. No. He pohaku ke kanaka. And over the months it took us to figure out what she was telling us. It was basically, when you walk into this room right now and everybody's quiet, you walking in will become quiet. You absorb the energy of that room. If somebody walks into this room and we're laughing, they automatically brighten up, right? He pohaku ke kanaka. People are stones, are like stones. What that means is stones have the ability to retain heat, to retain things, right? If I leave this piece of basalt or my ili for hula out in the sun, even when the sun goes down, they're still warm. Do we not capitalize on this aspect of stones when we put them in the fire and then cook with them? These stones, they retain heat. So what then happens when we have these stones that have been prayed over on heiau, or that are in the walls of homes that have been prayed amongst and heard the laughter of kupuna for generations? What are they retaining? More fundamentally, why are stones able to retain that? So later on, when you look in the dictionary, under the definition of wai, you'll also see that wai means the grain of stone. So the retentive attributes of these stones comes from the wai that it's composed of. Wai. It's not just water to us. It's not just a commodity to us, but underneath the concept of wai is all this weight. For those of us who are part Native Hawaiian, when I taught my classes at Kamehameha schools, one year I asked, why did you take this class to one of my classes? And one of the boys said, the culture is sacred. I asked him, why is the culture sacred? But he didn't know the reason. So we all feel the culture is sacred, whether or not we understand why the culture is sacred, right? Because if 80 to 85% of the population died because of epidemics, that means the surviving culture came from that 15 to 20%. Out of those 20 kids in that class, if 85% died, only 3 of them are walking home later, right? So they inherited the importance of the culture, even though they didn't understand that history, the same way that we have inherited the concept that water is sacred, even though we may not understand the linguistic or the cultural connotations of water. Is that correct? Are you reading me? So when it comes to our abilities to do things with wai, it's not just a source of wealth, a commodity to be controlled. It's supposed to be accessible to us. Why would I use the waters of Waihe'e to heal, as opposed to the waters of Wailuku to heal? Right? He'e itself means to slip away, so the sickness can slip away. Luku means to destroy. I have the potential to now destroy the patient. Right? So think of these concepts today. Add them to when you folks go to advocate for water rights. Or if you're on the other side of the aisle, just understand that this is the weight of wai that is coming with our practitioners and the people of Hawaii. So to get things started, I'll offer 3 types of pule in a second. The first is a pule wai. When we bring water into an area, we use this pule. The second is a pule waiha. The way that we're going to infuse the water with the pule. And then the last is going to be a pule vai, a pule inu vai, which is can be reserved for liquids, but also for ava. Oh, and the fourth pule will ask that the akua sit with us on this trail that we're on and keep us upright, because if we fall while the akua are sitting on our shoulders, the akua fall as well. And that will be my opening to you. The pule that we have as an oral culture are not physically embodied, right? Uamana noi kaha. It's carried on the physical breath. But when we do forms of pule waiha, that pule becomes physically manifested in the water. And so during things like PK ceremonies, this water, which is now the physical embodiment of that pule, gets physically spread about, while pule are also filling the space audibly. When we pule like this and we drink the water, as the water evaporates through us, it's a sustained release of that form of pule. I know I'm preaching to the choir. Hokuao could have said the exact same stuff.
E hoʻi nā wai, mā puna puna wai, tumu wai, po wai wai, maka wai wai, puna wai wai, ola kane mālawa o kana lo ai. E hoʻi nā wai wai, rei uka wai, rei uke ki nā wai, pipi nā wai wai, lapa wai wai, ola ni no hona wai, a kana kana kai. E hoʻi nā wai, ale nā wai wai, oni wai, ha koi holu nā wai wai, nini au wai, alawili au, noloa ilu nai. He hoʻi nā wai, pūkana wehe wai, opi wai, hewa wai, wai hānini holo nā wai wai, gahe apu e wai nā wai, lau pua i. He wai he wai la, he wai hoʻi ola wai, ei ta honu ua ta he la inoa. Dulia e uli ta pulea kana na ola dulia I ke alohi lani imihia kupua o luna nei o wai tupua o luna nei o ilio ulio kalani o ilio e huo kuo ke au I ke o ku ke au loa o ku ke au poko o ku ke au awihi ulau kalani. O kanaka o ta mauna na hoa o ta ulula ha au ha ke ololani I duai e lata. Mata a pule kahe kawai o na hoa ali I nei wale kapili moko wawa o ku pina I o ku wawa o ku haili moe o hai lau a hea. O na wai I ne o ka paku I kapa ele na ke aloha I kono e hele mailo o hi iaka. Te ola ho ta ha nau te ola e ola hoi. E ola hoi. Ie holo e dane I ta wai ola he kau ola ke ia oe e lono nui no hoi ta wai o tupu ho e o inana I te ola e ia ta wai la he wai ola e ola hoi e ho mai hea ola e ola hoi Eli kapu, eli noa. Ma puta nuora lawa e mapi no I ta palio ai yalo hai zabuti palai ta huri lole I uza wala za I no ai wale te ala nui kuili makanaka o mauna hina e ina ho kai la ho I o wa wale no he hano ho I hina pui hono ta wai te ala nui ahalia ala hai e mai no ta le ua makano e no ta le ua makano e no I vivo ola I te nu me ui te ala ti papa ola e ola e
Have a wonderful day today. Aloha.